Well, hello and welcome, folks. Welcome to my world. Welcome to Talk Leadership with Cedrick, where everybody needs a little TLC. And I am Cedrick LaFleur, your host. I'm excited to be here with you today. I always love doing Talk Leadership with Cedrick, because we always going to bring some guests to you that are going to be powerful. And today I have a great guest with us in studio. So I'm excited about what we're going to be talking about this evening and excited to introduce this young brother that's doing some things with you. So you just sit back, relax, and let us run with Talk Leadership with Cedrick. Talk Leadership with Cedrick is where we focus on leadership and personal growth with business leaders, educators, and local thought leaders. Our goal is to introduce our audience to leaders who are making an impact with innovative ideas. Now, the law of consistency is our guiding leadership principle, which says motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you going and growing. So you have to develop the good habits that lead to success. Just showing up is 80% of success. See, some people just don't show up. So you can beat pretty much anybody out easily by just consistently showing up. And you're going to see that with my guest tonight. He's consistently showing up. The boss, Bruce Springsteen, once said, a time comes when you need to stop waiting for the man you want to become and start being the man you want to be. So tonight we have a dynamic guest in studio with us, and I'm excited to introduce Dr. Darrin H. Brown to some of you, reintroduce him to some of you. And you know what? The others, you're going to catch him and look, tonight you're going to take his wings and let his wings help you fly, because this brother is on fire doing some wonderful things. And I want you to take something tonight from Dr. Brown's message and story and journey. And I want you to put it and implement it into your life. Now, the first thing I need you to do, though, is I need you to share this message. Okay. Look, everything in life doesn't come to you for you. Some things in life come to you for you to be the vessel for somebody else. Right. So I'm going to need you to share this with someone else. All right. Now, Dr. Brown's going to bring some stuff, so you just need to be prepared. All right. So let me introduce him. I like to do a proper introduction of my guest. So let me do that. Dr. Darrin H. Brown is the Global Vice President of People Solutions for Proudfoot. So let's talk about who is Darrin. I'm going to share 4 important things about Darrin for you. His faith, right? Darrin, People Solution is not just a job for him. It's a purpose. It's a calling. It's a cause to improve human performance and productivity to maximize your potential. His fitness, right? He believes that, fitness brings tremendous value to your life, and both mentally and physically, right? And he models this. He's always, in the gym and 6 days a week. If there was 8 days in a week, he'd be in the gym 8 days a week, folks. Okay.
You're right. You're right.
His family, right? So the unconditional love he has for his spouse, for his children, for his grandchildren, right?
Yeah.
Is just immeasurable. He said that his family really helps accentuate his why, his passion in life. It inspires the best from him and inspires the best with his clients as well. Right now, the last point I want to highlight for you is fun. He says, I love playing board and card games with my family and friends. I love roller skating, sporting events, and all kind of events where there is food. So he doesn't just work out, folks. He likes to eat too. All right. So now, see, Dr. Brown brings with him over 15 years experience as a people solutions person, a sales executive. He's been recognized because of his ability to use change strategies, which demonstrated success in helping organizations and their people to align, engage, execute, and sustain their strategic imperatives while maintaining focus on and delivering bottom line results, folks. And at the end of the day, you have to be you have to be a results oriented person, and Dr. Brown is definitely one of those people. Darrin brings specialized knowledge and capability in some of the following areas: cultural transformation, executive alignment, executive coaching, leadership development, change management, organizational design, and human resource development. Now, you may say, wow, that's a lot, Cedrick. Well, what is his qualifications? Well, he's a certified leadership coach with the John Maxwell Company. He's a certified diversity and inclusion trainer from the University of South Florida. He's a certified DISC facilitator. He's a certified change management practitioner, and he has a doctorate in strategic leadership from Regent University. So the brother brings qualifications, right? So let's welcome Dr. Darrin H. Brown to the show.
Thank you for that, Cedrick. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Glad to be here with you. Glad to be here with the audience, and looking forward to having a great time and talk about how we get those bottom line results, but in a fun way. Make it happen.
Absolutely. So, Darrin, hey man, again, brother, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I'm excited that you were able to be here. Yes. So, you know, I read some stuff about you, but our audience really likes to hear directly from you about your journey to leadership, and how did you get to where you are today?
So my journey to leadership. Yeah. So number one, thank you for inviting me to the show. So number two, my journey to leadership, to answer the question, that's a long story. I'll try to condense it as much as possible, but that's a long story. So I didn't recognize it, but my journey to leadership was a calling, right? So my journey to leadership, it all started off, and I'll tell you one quick story from when I was a kid. So I remember living in the Lower Ninth Ward, New Orleans. And, you know, my family, we didn't have a whole lot. A lot of your audience saw, the people that were down in Hurricane Katrina, down in the Lower Ninth Ward, New Orleans. And that's where I was, me and my family, my wife and kids, at least 2 days prior to the storm. But I'm going way back. When I was a kid, I'm talking about I was probably like in the 3rd or 4th grade. So I got interested one day because I looked over my balcony, and it was a park, because I was going to a school right across the street that was called Thomas Alva Edison. In a park, there was a football team that was practicing over there in the park. And so I got interested. You know, my dad would let us go out to the park, go across the street. You know, he'd let us do that. He wasn't the kind of dad that said, no, don't you take a step and move. So I went across the street. The football team was practicing. Every couple of minutes, I get closer and closer and closer to the football team. Now, these people had pads, equipment, and everything else on, and I had nothing because I was just a curious kid. Mm-hmm. What if I told you before I know it, I was under center?
Oh, wow.
Look, you see that football behind me, leadership quarterback, right? I had literally got under center. The coach, I told the coach, I said, hey, I think I can do that. And the coach said, what do you mean you think you can do it? He said, you don't have any pass. I said, I think I can do that. I literally found myself under the center. And I had threw probably at least 2 or 3 passes. And at that point, I recognized I had the ability to influence people. I had the ability to call plays. I had the ability to see things that other people. And I was about in the 4th grade at that time, because I remember we moved there from another place, and I was going to the school, Thomas Alva Edison, for my 4th grade year. And so I remember throwing 3 or 4 passes. Now, that didn't last long, because before you know it, my dad had me by my collar. Boy, what are you doing, right? Those people got equipment on. Come on before you get yourself hurt. So he was dragging me off. And the coach said, wait. He has something special. He has something special. Now, we didn't have money to buy equipment and all of those things, but I'll tell you, that's where it started off for me. Playing the role in the position of quarterback, which I've played all of my life. And that's why I also call myself, you even see my shirt, right? The leadership quarterback. And so it started off for me at a very young age. And so I continued to progress. Now, it was in sports. I understood my ability to use those skills and to use those talents on the football field, to be able to see things that people couldn't see, to be able to call plays that people couldn't call, to be able to gather people and influence them and get them to trust me when I was calling certain plays. But I really didn't know what that meant in life. No, I didn't know what that meant in life. I'm 48 years old. I probably didn't know what that meant in life till I was about 35 years old. I always knew I was a quarterback. You talked about sales. I always knew that I had the extroverted personality, the ability to sell, the ability to influence people. I knew that I had a charismatic attitude, and I know that I was able to, to build trust with people. But it happened when I got here. There's a book on the shelf behind me. And this is the rocky road part. This is the real part, how I got here, because I wouldn't have got here without this. I would say, like all of us have been, well, some of us, I'm going to speak for myself. I wasn't always the type of husband that I should be or the type of father that I should be in terms of what a leader is supposed to represent, in terms of modeling the behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking about fruit of the spirit, self-discipline, those things, I was more of I have the education, I have the knowledge, I make the money. This is what it is. And a friend gave me a book by John Maxwell. First book I read out of high school, because I didn't go to college until I was like a couple of, maybe about a year later. I was 36 years old, something of that nature. Said the book was The 17 Indispensable Laws of Teamwork.
Oh, wow.
The 17 indispensable laws of teamwork. So I want your audience to understand the first practical tip, right? Make certain that you're expanding your mind with consistent reading, and I believe this audience does. But there's a book out there called The 17 Indispensable Laws of Teamwork. Grab it. It's really going to help you to understand. We've heard the concept team, together everyone achieves more. Together everyone achieves more. Grab that book, and it will help you to understand your role, your personal role, because it always starts with you.
Absolutely.
On a team, and what role you can play to help the team to achieve its best results. And it'll help you to understand your responsibility. And when you're operating and walking in your responsibility, it will automatically influence others one way or another to walk in their responsibility, or they'll recognize that they can't walk in your circle, one or the other, right? But
absolutely.
So on from there is when I read that book and I started doing all of my research. Well, who is this guy, John Maxwell? Then I started watching videos. Minute with Maxwell, the second tip. If y'all ain't signed up for Minute with Maxwell, go ahead on and do it, right? Go ahead on and do it. You get those 30, 60, 90 tidbits on a daily basis. But anyway, right. I went to Maxwell. Now, here's something interesting. To join John Maxwell was 5 G's. I ain't had that bread, Seth. I ain't had that bread. I didn't have that flat cash in my pocket. I knew where I could get it from, though. I had it in my 401k because I had about, a couple of racks, a couple of racks in my 401k. So I went and got $8,000 out, $5,000 for Maxwell, $3,000 for the mentorship. When I tell you, me and my wife had a drag down fight about that money, because she understood, number one, what type of model I had been as a leader before. And she thought that, hey, you know what? This guy's just going to waste that money. It's going to waste our retirement. We need to hold on. We need to save that. Said, I will tell you this, and I will make this quick, and I'll bring it back to you. We'll talk about some more things, right? But I went to John Maxwell. That was the most enlightening experience that I had, because it was about me. It was about my personal growth. It was about my development. It was about, was I walking in the fruit of the spirit? It was about, was I able to lead myself effectively? Did I have my own emotions under control? Was I able to see myself properly in the mirror? Was I looking at my blind spots? It helped me to understand the vision. Okay, so this is where you are right now. Don't worry about where you are right now. We want you to recognize where you are, but we also want you to establish, who do you want to become? Yeah. What type of leader do you want to be? What do you want your family to say about you? When you die, what do you want people to say about Darrin Brown at his funeral? Who was he? What kind of man, what kind of life did he live? And what type of legacy is he leaving? From that point, it changed my life. And at that moment is when I discovered what my purpose was in terms of being a human performance practitioner. I knew I had the skills. I had been being prepared the whole time, influencing teams, influencing people, sales teams, football teams, to achieve great results. I was an all-state quarterback, had all-state receivers and running backs. But I couldn't do the same thing with my family until I actually expanded my mind and began to understand what my role and responsibility was as a servant leader. So a transformational leader, but a servant leader. And then, as I grew in my role, now, I'm a situational leader where I can use anyone that's necessary to actually drive the results. But that's kind of sort of how I got here to this point. The last thing that I want to tell your audience about this is it's never too late to start.
Right.
You all heard me say my first time walking on a college campus, I was about 36 years old. Right after I had that experience with John Maxwell, my first time walking on a college campus, University of Phoenix. I literally went to the college campus here in Houston because their own ground campus is here in Houston. You don't have to take it online. And they asked me what I was doing there. I said, I want something better out of life. I want more opportunity. I'm looking for a change in my life because I know I have more in me. I just don't know how to do it. So I had to admit to someone and some people that, hey, you know what? I know there's some things that I want, but I don't know how to get there. I don't know what to do. And I'm looking for some guidance. Please, somebody help me because I got a family and a legacy that's dependent on me. And I want to be able to change my life from the place that I came from. So from 36 to basically 39, almost 40, I went to the University of Phoenix and got my bachelor's degree in business management. 2 weeks later, I started my MBA. I stayed there for 2 years, for 2 years, got my MBA. And then after my MBA, I jumped right into my doctorate program. So I've been in somebody's classroom learning, whether it was a John Maxwell, whether it was in college, for about the last 12 to 14 years in somebody's classroom learning. And I took 5 years on top of that to be an adjunct professor in college to give back.
Wow.
So that's part of how I got here today, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, no, that's great. I like the detailed and the specificity that you provided. Sometimes people need that, right? There's always times where boom, 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 we do real fast things, but sometimes people need that specificity on how you did something. So you said a whole lot of things. So let's unpack some of the things that you talked about, right? You
Absolutely.
talked about the 17 indisputable laws of teamwork, right? And the very first one is the law of significance, right? It says one is
it's
too
not
small
about your success. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
One is too small a number to achieve greatness. So you need other people. And you reaffirm that by saying, hey, you went to the University of Phoenix and you said, look, I know there's some things I want, but I don't know how to get there. So I need somebody else to help me understand how to get there.
Yes.
Right. And that's an awesome thing. Men who are listening, right? You know how hard it is for us to admit that we need help with something, right? So awesome from that front. You talked about your legacy, right? So it's interesting that you brought that up because I want to share with our audience, because you brought that up, some things around your legacy, your leadership legacy as a family man, as a leader in your company, or wherever you are leading, right? Even if you're just leading yourself. And John says this as well, that people are going to write your story. But if you know that people are going to write your story, you might as well impact what they say and what they're going to write, right? So he says, write your leadership sentence. You need to, your legacy sentence. Understand what you want people to say about you, because they're going to say something about you when you're gone. Absolutely. What is it you want? Now, there are questions that you need to ask yourself. I just shared this with a group of leaders, school leaders that I'm working with in one of our last sessions. And here are 3 questions you have to ask yourself. The first one is, what are my responsibilities? See, that's going to help you to identify what you should do. Number two is, what are my abilities? That's going to identify what you can do. And then the last one is, what are my opportunities? And that's going to identify what you could do. Right. So now, along the way, folks, I want you to pick up what Darrin is laying down, what Dr. Brown is laying down. He really answered these questions. He probably didn't consciously answer them, but subconsciously he answered these questions, or he didn't ask them in this same way. But in order to get from point A to where he was to where he is, he answered those questions. And now he's actively writing what his leadership legacy is going to be. He said earlier, this is a transparent moment, audience. I want you to pick this up, right? He said, I wasn't the leader that I want to be for my family. And I knew that I could do some things different, better. Yep. But what did he say? He didn't say he just put his head in the sand and say, well, I hope it gets better. He said he went out there and he intentionally did some things to get better. So see, this is what we're going to be teaching you tonight. So Doc, just let's see here. 6 months ago, you were Darrin Brown.
I was Darrin Brown.
Now you Dr. H. Darrin Brown. I mean, Dr. Darrin H. Brown.
The leadership quarterback, baby.
The leadership. Brother.
All right. So listen. So I'm gonna tell you about that. I don't want the audience also to miss something that you said about the law of significance. And here's what's important. The life that we really live, in order for us to do the things that Cedrick talked about, that means that we have to impact our family, our community, our city, our state, and our world. And that's the way that we do it. But we start off by impacting ourselves. We talked about the law of significance. There's a lot of you out there, right? A lot of us that's having personal success. Success is one thing, but significance is when the success that you're having makes a positive impact on others, and you can see and watch others grow, and you can watch the world, and you can create legacy, and you can watch others benefit from the great value that you're creating. That's the difference in success and significance. Success is personal. Significance is about others.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
So to tell you about that. So yes. So I have a doctorate of strategic leadership and organizational behavior from Regent University. Why did I take that path? Right. So listen, let's just put it out there. Y'all see I'm a black man. Y'all see I'm a brother, right? So here's what happens. And I didn't touch on this, but let me touch on it. Cedrick touched on it, but let me say this as well in terms of, what I'm doing entrepreneurially and from a corporate perspective. I'm a global vice president of a 75-year-old major consulting firm. A major consulting firm. I have a global responsibility. When I tell you I have global responsibility, I have clients and team members who don't report to me, but who report to my direct reports in Poland, in Russia, in Brazil, in Portugal, in Mexico, in London, in Europe. I have people all over the world. I'm involved with clients and people on a day-to-day basis all over the world. Now, I can't talk about those clients, right? But nevertheless, okay. This is what I do on a day-to-day basis. In terms of the doctorate degree for me was not about me. And it's not to say that, oh, this guy has a doctorate degree. Let me let you know something first about a doctorate degree. And Cedrick talked about this. Getting a doctorate degree don't make me no smarter than you. Let's get that out of the way real quick. A lot of you all, your IQ is still higher than mine. Trust me, right? A doctorate degree is about having a level of commitment, having some stick-to-itness, being consistent, saying that I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to have this discipline, this consistency, this resilience, this persistence. I'm going to do it. And why did I do it? Because I got a why. You see where I come from, the hood I come from, Ninth Ward, New Orleans, just like many of you who watching this, you got hoods you come from. But where I come from, education at this level wasn't necessarily a value. Man, people celebrating when you graduate from high school. It's like you getting ready to party like it's 1990. Look, 2000 party over out of time. You're getting ready to party like Prince when people graduate from high school. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I ain't knocking nobody for that. But what I wanted to do for my family, the word legacy is very important to me. So in order for me to try to create the legacy, what I had to do was I had to find a way to say, okay, how can I inject into my family the value of education? I am not the example. I am not the only one. There are plenty of ways that you can go out there and get educated. I am not telling you that this is the only path by any means. But I'm telling you, education is the only path, however you choose to get it. Whether it's workshops, whether it's going to, leadership workshops, technical training, whether it's free online education from Harvard or MIT or Coursera or whatever it is that you do, technical school, however you do it. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to show my family, and I wanted to be an example for my children, and Cedrick, for my children's children, that we can do it regardless of where we're from. So I got the doctorate degree so that I can, number one, show the example, and number two, say, listen, I not only want to leave a legacy for my kids of education, I won't leave that bread too, Doc. Listen, I won't leave that. Look, the bottom line results, I won't leave that bread too. So here is how it works in corporate America, especially, as an African-American man or African-American person, rather, right? Or any minority person. Right. Sometimes you have to prove yourself two or three times more than other people have to prove themselves. And here is what I know. When I walk into an organization with a doctorate degree, with 25, 26 years of experience, holding an executive role as an, global vice president of people solutions of a function in a major consulting organization in the country, I know that no person and no company or corporation in the world could ever tell me you're not qualified. You don't meet our standards. How many times have we heard that? Well, the team is a little bit skeptical about your credentials. We don't know what you bring to the table. I got the doctorate degree because I knew that if I was going to be the best, if I was going to operate at the highest levels in my field, I knew that I had to have the right and the proper credentials behind me. So I didn't just stop with the doctorate degree. Cedrick called off some of the other certifications, and I'm going to continue to pile those on, because when I walk into your business and I say, listen, I'm 100,000 just to show up, I want you to respect that. Right? So and listen, and it's not just about me being money hungry. Let me tell you something about money. In order for me to do missions, in order for me to build Dynamic Leadership University, in order for me to make certain that my family and my close friends and all of these people have the right type of education that they believe is right for them, that they're learning multiple languages, that they understand AI, that stuff takes money. It takes money to do that. It's not about me and my lifestyle. Right. I promise you, in order to create the legacy, to build a legacy, because you're building something, it requires funds to build. So I don't want the audience to get confused when I say I'm going to get that bread. It's for a reason. I got a mission, and I'm going to live that mission. And this is a vehicle for me to live that mission, to generate type of dollars I need to generate to build a whole different set of leaders. And what I'm looking to do, Sad, here's the last one, I'll turn it over. There's another principle that Sad and I, that we share a mindset in, and it's called the law of explosive growth. Mm-hmm. You see, when I build that Dynamic Leadership University, I'm not looking for anybody. I'm looking for leaders who want to develop other leaders, right? I'm looking to make a difference with other people who want to make a difference in the lives of others. And that's how you duplicate and replicate. You don't want duplicate, I'm sorry. You replicate leaders, because I don't want anybody to be in a duplicate of me. No, you replicate the process of growing other leaders, and then they go out and they invest in and they grow other leaders. And before you know it, you got a community of leaders who are creating and who are innovating, and we're no longer waiting on anybody to give us anything.
Yes, you're absolutely right. We can just drop the mic right on that. And, You got enough, Darrin. If we keep giving all this away, man, something's gonna happen. We gonna have to put up our PayPal link for all of this stuff we're giving tonight, brother. So, um, what I want to do is talk a little bit about. We talked about your background, your qualifications, how you got to where you are today. But I want to talk about your business a little bit, right? And so, tell us what your business niche is. And because you're an entrepreneur outside of corporate America, and then what separates your business from other businesses that are out there in the same area?
So my business is Dynamic Leadership Empowerment Group. For short, we call it DLEG, right? For short, we call it DLEG, Dynamic Leadership Empowerment Group. Reason why it's called that, the world that we live in is dynamic, right? There's just a bunch of things happening, and no two things are the same. So dynamic leadership, the ability to influence a group of people toward a common goal. Empowerment, meaning that we move obstacles and barriers out of people's way so that they can be enabled. Group, it's my team. I can't do it by myself. I need people, right, who are just as talented as I am in some different areas, who think differently, so we can be about our business. Dynamic Leadership Empowerment Group. What is my niche? How do I go to market? So what I've learned this, regardless of what my group is called, my niche is not necessarily on the front end leadership. My niche is culture. Culture. That's how I go in and I talk to my clients. I talk to my clients about culture. Why do I talk to my clients about culture? Anytime I go and I talk to a client, the reason why a client talks to me either in my personal business or my professional business is because they are achieving a set of results. We can call that R1 for results one. They're not satisfied with those results, and they want to talk about how they can create the next set of results, which is results two, right? Now, here's how it starts, and here's where culture matters. Normally, people say, well, we can come in and we can help you to develop your leaders, and we can do some leadership development and put a couple of processes in place and help you to get those better results. Well, here's what happens. Those results are a product of the organization's culture. So in order to change the results, right, you can't put R2 inside of our C1 culture, if you follow what I'm saying.
Right.
What you have to do is you have to help them to understand. You have to ask this question. And here's a critical question that I ask all of my clients. I said, okay, so you're looking to achieve some different results, for your company, your church, your organization, your school, your business. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. I said, so I asked him, I said, so when you think about the culture of your organization right now, what type of culture, describe for me the type of culture that would allow you to achieve the next level results? Because obviously, and I hit him with this on the back end, obviously, the culture that you have now is not allowing you to achieve those results. So tell me, what does that look like? What are some of the attributes? What are some of the qualities? That's a deeper conversation.
Yeah.
Now people got to think like, whoa. Said you was going to say something? Go ahead.
No, I was disagreeing with you.
Yeah. That's a much deeper conversation that you're having with people. And now it brings them to a mirror, because guess what? The leaders create the culture in every organization. See, I'm going to get to leadership development, but I ain't talking about that yet, because see, people are not looking to pay me $100,000 a week for flat out leadership development. They say, well, hey, you know what? You're just like everybody else. Now I'm talking about what differentiates me. What differentiates me is I go and I have a different conversation. And the conversation I talk about is on culture. So when I'm talking about culture and the clients are talking, I said, okay. They said, well, here are the attributes. And they name off 5 or 6 things. Here is what the new culture looks like. And I said, okay, now, so here's what the new culture looks like. There's 4 stages to help somebody define culture. Results is number 1. Actions is number 2. Beliefs is number 3. Experiences is number 4. We start on the very bottom. After I asked them to describe what type of culture they want to create, I said, okay, tell me about the current experiences that you believe your people are getting that's driving your current results that you don't like. List those experiences for me. Whether it's your engagement surveys, whether it's your interviews, whether it's things you're hearing, through the grapevine, whether it's, tell me some of the experiences that people are getting, because see, here's the key thing. Experiences create beliefs in people. When
Mhm.
people have beliefs, they behave a certain way. When people behave, when people have certain experiences and they believe a certain way and they take certain actions, those are the results that you end up getting. So we got to recreate your entire culture by making certain that you not only define the type of culture that you want to be in, but you also define the type of experiences that your people will need to have in order so that they can take new actions, which is in turn going to produce your new results. That's my niche, is culture. And what makes me different is because I go in with the culture approach. I don't talk about leadership. I don't talk about change management. I don't talk about organizational design or strategy. Then that comes into executive alignment because it has to start with the top executives of the organization. And you got to get
Mhm.
every level of the organization, no matter where you at. Again, you can be in a store, you can be a supermarket like HEB, you can be in a church, you can be in a small business, or you can be in an enterprise-sized business, Chevron,
Yeah.
Shell, whatever it is. I do it every
Mhm.
single day. You have to be certain that you're getting people aligned in the same direction and with the same level of commitment on every single level of the organization. So you have alignment and engagement integrated in an organization. That's my
Yeah.
niche. I go in and I talk about culture, and that's a conversation that people are not necessarily having.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I remember Mark Cole one time
Mhm,
saying that what people need more than they need leadership
mhm.
is they need a leadership culture.
Yes.
And that's really what you're impacting is that culture. And that's awesome. I really I like that approach.
Mhm.
It's different, and sometimes different is necessary in order to take people from here to here.
Say, let me touch on that just real quick. What you
Hmm.
just said, sometimes different is necessary. Literally, what makes me different, I talk all about, I do a lot as a doctor, I do a lot of research, I do a lot of reading. And you'll hear that empathy is the number one leadership skill based on research. Empathy, that's the number one leadership skill.
Hmm.
Why is that the number one leadership skill? Look at the world we live in. We live in such a divisive world. We have
Yeah.
COVID. We have rapid discontinuous change. Look at what's happening to the supply chain right now, right? So you have 85%. Gallup says 85% of people in the workplace, 85% of the people in the workplace are disengaged, and that adds up to $7 billion of lost profit every single year. 85% of people are disengaged. So when I go in and I start talking about the culture and how that impacts mental health, fitness is my number two, right? So when I go in and I talk about mental health and I talk about culture, I'm having a whole different conversation. And now the price tag just went up. The price tag just went up, Sad. We're not talking about, hey, come in and I'm not knocking, but I'm talking about clients. Now they're not talking about, hey, you know what? Well, we don't know if we can pay that amount of money just for soft skills. No, we're talking about culture because everything that you are trying to create, I'm talking to the people at home, let me get close to the camera. Everything that you're trying to create in your home, in your small businesses, in the schools, no matter what you're doing, even if you have a larger business, your culture will produce your results. And you as a leader or the leaders of the organization, you create the culture that's going to create your people's experiences, that's going to shape and form their beliefs, which means how people believe is how they're going to act and behave, and how they act and behave is going to drive your results. So in your home, ask yourself, what experiences am I creating for my family? And now I know why they act like they act.
Boom.
Look, my wife started acting up. I say, what did I do? Maybe I didn't give the right explanation. What did I do? I go back and check myself, right? So, but you get what I'm saying, right? So we
Yeah,
always have to go back and
absolutely.
look.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, how, over the last year, how has your priorities changed?
My priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm gonna give you a big one. I tell people no. Listen, my priorities have changed because so I'm gonna tell you two things. First of all, let me touch on this first. My priorities have changed because, as Sad mentioned, so I have my own company, Dynamic Leadership Empowerment Group, but I am also global vice president of a national major consulting firm in the country, or international global consulting firm in the country. My priorities have changed because I've reshaped my vision. And I have a 2025 vision for myself. And my 2025 vision says what I want to do, where I want to be, what I aspire to be, right? So if you're working for a company or an organization, or working with a company and an organization that don't respect your aspirations, you're probably in the wrong organization, right? I'm gonna tell you that right now. We all have to have aspirations because our purpose and our calling calls us to have those aspirations. So I will tell you this: my priorities have changed because at first I was, about a year ago, 2 years ago, I was full-fledged into Dynamic Leadership Empowerment Group, trying to move forward with it. But guess what? Even at this age, and I didn't have my doctorate degree, all of that stuff, and but I recognize I don't know enough to do it on the levels that I want to be able to do it on. I don't have enough knowledge. I didn't have enough
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. I didn't have enough experience. And I didn't have enough credibility for when I walk into a room, somebody says, yes, we're going to go ahead on and cut that check $100,000 a week for that guy, or $75,000 a week for that guy. We're going to go ahead on and cut that check. So my priorities have changed because my priorities now are about, number one, practical experience, practical knowledge. So I finished, again, the doctorate degree, the PhD, whatever it is. And now it's all about my feet on the ground and making certain that I know how to move the needle and drive the results to put all of that academic knowledge into practice. My priorities have changed there. Because that's been my change, I still do a lot of studying. But what I study on is what I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis to understand how it applies to strategy. And I'm going back and I'm looking at some of the things that I learned from an academic perspective and say, oh, wow, here is something new that I can create in this market. I can develop and create a new niche that I can become known for. So my priorities have changed in terms of where my focus was from my own company and organization to making certain that I'm learning and making the impact that I need to make. Because guess what? It doesn't matter what I'm doing if I ain't making the impact, right? It
Right.
doesn't matter what I'm doing. So I got to make the impact in this global role and position. And I'm here to tell you, I'm making an impact. I'm making an impact, right? But listen, my priorities have changed in terms of where I am in alignment, in terms of my organization, in terms of what I'm doing from a corporate perspective. My corporate initiative is here. My initiative is here, right? And remember, I told you I have that 2025 vision to where I'm trying to go forward. And then I'll begin to move on the opposite side. And when I say no a lot, let me tell you what that is. My time right now, there's a lot of people call me that do to do a lot of things. And I have to tell them no, because if it's not in alignment with my vision, if it's
Yeah.
not in alignment to the plan that I've laid out, the calling that I have on my life, I'm not getting involved in all of that other stuff. Just because I got a name, just because I got a reputation, or just because somebody said you can make a few bucks or a few dollars, I'm not getting involved in all of that. I'm going to stay focused, make certain that I stay in alignment with what I know I'm supposed to be doing. And guess what? Every other thing that I want to accomplish and achieve, this will open the doors to accomplish it all. And so that's how
Yeah.
my priorities have changed.
Yeah. So, I want to make sure people get what you just said, that
Mm-hmm.
you're not just saying no just for the sake of saying no. You're not
Mm-hmm.
saying no to be mean to people. What you're doing is saying no to things of lesser value and yes to things of greater value. Right.
Absolutely.
And it has to be
Yes.
aligned with your vision. And now, folks, don't get it wrong. It doesn't mean he's saying he doesn't help other people.
Yeah.
Right.
No, not
There's
at
a
all.
difference there. What he's saying is he's saying no to everyday things. He can no longer, it could be a friend, right? He could say yes to, hey man, let's go hang out. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. He could say that where he was, but where he is today, sometimes you have to say no to those things. in order to keep progressing and going to a higher level. I remember Magic Johnson said this in an interview, and it was a profound statement. He said, "Look," he says, uh, a billionaire told me this. He says, "A billionaire told me that it takes the same amount of energy to do $1 billion deal as it does to take $1 million deal." He said, so spend your energy on that $1 billion deal. He says, now some of his friends got upset with him because they would come to him with all kind of business ideas. And back in the day, he would say yes to those things, $100,000 deals. And now they're upset because he says no to those $100,000 deals. He says, it's nothing wrong with the deal. I'm just not there anymore. I'm trying to make the $1 billion deals now, right? Absolutely. He said, so that happens as you grow and you expand in your personal life, in your business. That's what's going to happen, folks. So that's what Dr. Darrin H. Brown is throwing on you tonight. So I'm hoping you picking up what he's laying down. Now, what I want you to do, folks, I need you to share this message, okay? Because he's providing a lot of tips and tools and information for you. So I need you to hit the share button and share with someone, tag them in the message. See, again, I told you earlier in the show, sometimes a message comes to you for you just to be the vessel for someone else. So I need you to share this message with someone else. Now, we're going to keep talking to Darrin, but Darrin, we have a segment on the show that's called Would You Rather? Mm-hmm. All right. So indulge me here in a little Would You Rather. Now, audience, you can play along with this. You can answer as well. Just put your responses in the comments. All right. You ready to go? All right, here we go. So would you rather, now I already know the answer to this one for you. Would you rather never eat dessert or never sleep?
Oh, man, I'd rather never, me personally, I'd rather never eat dessert.
I knew it.
I'd rather never eat dessert. Go ahead, keep going.
Okay, all right. Would you rather have $1 million or 1 million friends?
Wow. Are we talking about real friends, Seth? Are we talking about real? Hold on. Listen, are we talking about real friends? Right?
1 million real friends.
Okay, when listen, friends means that you have influence. You got 1 million real friends. You can multiply that you can turn that to billions real quick. So I'll pass on 1 million. If these are real, genuine, authentic friends who we're willing to bleed for each other and we got each other's back and families, I'm gonna take them friends.
Okay. All right. So audience, remember, you can answer by putting yours in the comments. Would you rather be the smartest person or the funniest person?
Ooh, I don't want to be the funniest. I'd rather be the smartest person. I don't just want to be the funniest person.
Okay. Would you rather fly
hold on, wait, before you say it. Look, I do want to be funny, but I just don't want to be known as the funny guy. Said, ain't nobody paying the funny guy.
Exactly. Yeah. Unless you're a stand-up comedian or something, right? Yeah. All right. So would you rather fly to the moon or be invisible?
I'd rather fly to the moon.
Fly to the moon. All right. Well, just call Jeff Bezos and Tesla. Doggone it.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Yeah. All right. So, would you rather meet your great grandchildren or your great grandparents?
I'm gonna meet my great grandchildren. So, my great grandparents. I'm gonna meet my great grandchildren. I'm gonna meet them.
Okay.
I'm gonna be here.
All right.
I'm gonna be here.
Okay. There was nothing wrong with. Speaking
that's why I keep
into existence,
and that's why I keep that mental health and that physical fitness right. I'm gonna be here.
Okay, all right, I love it. All right, last one here. I normally ask everybody this question: would you rather have $1 million in Amazon gift cards or $100,000 in real money?
I'm gonna take the $100,000 in real money.
100,000 in real money. All right. Well, I'm gonna take you take that one. I'm gonna take the Amazon gift cards because
Listen,
you buy everything on Amazon already.
yeah,
In
yeah,
fact, I just saw last night that Amazon, what was it that they're selling that I was like, holy moly! I'm gonna think about it. But they're selling this like I didn't realize that Amazon was. Oh, it's a pharmacy now, so they have Amazon Pharmacy.
yeah.
So
I just didn't know what type of risks were associated with it, right? So, so without knowing anything, without knowing the details, without understanding any of the fine print, I, I just didn't know, you know.
yeah,
But I got you though. I got you.
yeah, yeah. Everybody loves Amazon with smiles on their face showing up to your
Hmm.
door, right?
Yeah,
So,
I got you.
but I get it. Definitely get it. Well, thanks for playing around of We Rather. So
All good.
let's get back to some serious questions here.
Hmm.
So many times, Darrin, that entrepreneurs want to give up or they want to throw in the towel. See, things don't go the way that they thought they were going to go. It wasn't as easy to start that business as they thought it was going to be. They didn't realize that they were going to have some low periods, right?
Hmm.
So now that they decide they want to throw in the towel, what advice would you give someone right now? They're
Hmm.
sitting here and listening to the live show, or they're listening to the replay, and they're questioning whether they should give up or not.
What advice would I give them? First advice that I'd give them is don't give up. That's number one. Don't give up, right? But number two, I would really, the advice that I would give them is make certain. I want to help them with the understanding, and I want to talk to them about. Said I have this understanding, and let me play this out for you for a second, if I would. I believe the Matrix is real, right? So if you've ever watched the movie The Matrix, so you had Keanu Reeves, you had Lawrence Fishburne, you had a number of different people who had experienced life on the outside of the Matrix. But then you had Agent Smith and a bunch of the other agents whose core purpose and design was to do what? Keep you inside the Matrix so you couldn't experience what was the freedom that was on the outside of the Matrix. So the first thing that I would do is that I would encourage them that all of their dreams, their legacy, everything that they want to create for themselves and for their family lies right on the outside of their discomfort, lies right on the outside of the matrix and the agents and the part of the system that's trying to keep you in. You've been resilient to this point. So the advice that I would give them, number one, is to make certain that they're not trying to do it alone, that they have, a coach, and especially like a business coach, to make certain that they are exploring new ideas
Mhm.
and to make certain that they're exploring, current constraints and make certain that they're coming up with new ideas and opportunities to try to move forward. That's number one. Number one is the encouragement. Number
Mhm.
two is being certain that I'm telling them, about the coach. And then I would actually say that's the top two that I would give them because I don't want them traveling a bunch of strange paths and trying to discover, should I continue to go, let me look in so many different places. No, I want you to partner with the right people, make sure that you have the right people in your circle, and make certain that you have a coach with high capability and high proficiency that helps you again to explore new opportunities, help you to explore current constraints. Those are important. I want the audience to pick up on that. New
Mhm.
opportunities, current constraints, and to generate new ideas that's going to help you to get there. But remembering you started this for a reason, you started this for a purpose. And then last but not least, I don't want them to do anything. I just go over some certain words with them because I want them to understand a few words. What does resilience mean? The ability to
Mhm.
bounce back, plain and simple. That's what resilience means. What is your why? Why did you even start this? What is your inspiration, not your motivation? People often get inspiration and motivation confused, right? Inspiration stays with you, it doesn't go away. That's your why.
Right.
Motivation is only a temporary energy. So some of y'all out there on the call right now saying, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna get me a book and read after this is over. And by the time this is over, you'll be like, nah, I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it. That's that motivation, right? And so the inspiration, the encouraging and inspiring, and the motivation. And I'm going over these words. And the last word I like to go over with people, the last word I like to go over is process. Process. I want them to understand what process really means. We talk about process, but I don't know if a lot of people really understand what process means. I always tell them, just look it up. A process is a series of steps and actions. You never know what your next step is going to hold. You never know what your next series is going to hold. You've come this far, said you talked about it earlier, hopefully with the habits, and you've record and you've reflected and you've re-implemented something that I speak about, something that I speak about on my social media, right? You got to record your day. You got to reflect on your day, and then you got to re-implement tomorrow. But what I want people to understand is that there is a process. You got to be resilient. You got to be persistent. You got to be committed to your why. That's the advice that I would literally give people, and I bring them through a process to help them to understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Thanks for that advice. And I know that you're going to encourage someone. In fact, we have someone that's given a testimony right online here, Miss Venetia Brooks. She says, I was that person, and Dr. Brown encouraged me and supported me, and he helped me understand my purpose, my vision. I now have my MBA and currently studying for my realtor exam.
That's
And
my friend. That's my friend.
Say, your circle can't do it alone, right? We were talking about law of significance earlier, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's a test to the stuff that you're doing out there, folks. And Doc, you've had a lot of successes, but you've also had some failures, right? Yeah. So tell us about a time that you had a failure. What was it, and what did you learn from it?
So time I had a failure, I was, it's been a couple of times, but I'll tell you what I learned on the front side. One of the things that people always talk about in business, and one of the things that people talk about in personal development is understand your strengths and understand your weaknesses. And from the school that you and I, subscribe to, said, we try to lean into our strengths. Where I had one of my greatest failures is where I overuse my strengths. Overusing your strength could literally be a liability versus an asset. Sure. I was it. And so from a theoretical perspective, there's something that we call there's something that we call cultural integration, cultural adaptation, and cultural minimization. I'll say it again. Cultural integration, cultural adaptation, and cultural minimization. I was in a corporate entity, and you might remember it because I called a couple of names earlier, but I ain't gonna repeat it. So I was in a corporate entity, and you heard me say earlier when I played quarterback, I was sometimes able to see and recognize things that people couldn't see. And because I had a certain gift or purpose, I also see things in my particular area that people couldn't see. Not in their area, but in my area of giftedness, I could see things that people couldn't see. And because I had some education, I was in this organization, and I practiced cultural minimization. I minimize their culture. What I mean is, by minimize their culture, I went in telling them the things that they were doing wrong and how they were getting it wrong. And that's not how they do it. And this is why your organization is working this way. People didn't appreciate that.
Yeah.
At that time, I was a district manager for a company. Now, I was on track, to get to regional manager, to get to vice president, whatever it was in that particular company. But because I minimized their culture, I told them that the way that you do things are not good enough. I'm smarter than you, and I know more than you. And guess what? I got excommunicated. What I really should have been doing, I didn't have to integrate into their culture. I should have adapted some of their culture. What I mean by adapt, I should have got in. I should have played ball the right way. I should have met a couple of people, talked to a couple of people, and tried to influence from behind instead of sticking my hand in somebody's face telling them they weren't doing it the right way.
Right.
It's the same thing we do right now when we go to our friends or our family. You know you ain't supposed to be doing that. You doing that the wrong way. So we're minimizing them, and the same time we're minimizing them, what are they doing to us?
Right.
We don't want to have nothing to do with you. They see you coming and they do what? They go in a different direction.
Go the other way. Yeah.
They go the other way. Versus adapting, right? You don't have to integrate to their ways, especially if you know, like I knew the organization wasn't, I didn't have to totally integrate and do everything the way that they wanted to do it. I had to learn how to, my homeboy used to tell me, D Brown, pump your brakes. An eager beaver could destroy a dam. D Brown, pump your brakes. An eager beaver could destroy a dam. So I started going in at the very end, because I still got promoted to regional manager with that company. I started going in and I started using other resources. Not only did I start using other resources, I started, instead of me saying it, I started putting it in practice with the people that I led. But where I failed, I got promoted in that organization like my 6th year. I should have been promoted in that organization my 3rd year. I should have been promoted. I had to wait 3 years on the sideline because I had bruised some egos, whether I was right or whether I was wrong. Sure. I was still wrong for my approach, I can tell you that. I had bruised some egos. I had made some, I don't want to say enemies, but some bad relationships in the organization where people were saying like, Darrin is smart and he's good at what he do, but he just don't get it. He doesn't understand how to play the game. He doesn't get it. There's a way that you do that, and he's not doing it the right way. So we're going to let him stick around for a little while, but we're going to punish him and tax him a little bit. So it took me 6 years to get promoted in an organization that I believe that I should have got promoted in 3 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those lessons that you learn, and then if you have an opportunity to correct that or do a different way, boom, then you do it a different way.
Consulting is a perfect place for that. Just imagine if I go into a consulting firm or the business of consulting or a client's business where everybody's already smart, everybody's already diverse. It's working with a bunch of engineers. People have 6 Sigma and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 degrees, and you walk in and you're talking about, I know more than you and my way is right. Right. Now you go in with the Socratic method. Look, you see this book back here? What does this book say? Good leaders ask great questions.
Great questions.
Now you go in and you practice. I practice something, and everybody might not understand it, but I'll tell you what it is. It's something called appreciative inquiry. Appreciative inquiry. That means I walk into your home, your business, your organization, your church, and I don't make any statements. I ask you appreciative questions about what's working in your organization. I might come in and say, so you have this leadership approach. Tell me about the impact. Tell me about the positive things. What do you believe is working? What do your clients say is working well? And so now it's Sad is talking about all those things that's working well and how the process is working. And I listen to all of it and I take notes. And then I come back and say, now, Sad, where do the opportunities lie? What are the areas your clients are talking about where improvement needs to happen, and where would you like to see some improvement happen to tighten that thing up some? Just that language and that approach changes everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my last thing, that book, 17 at the very beginning, 17 Indispensable Laws of Teamwork. My man who gave me that book, his name was Eric Page. I'm going to say his name out there right now. His name is Eric Page. Eric Page didn't come to me and put that book in my face and says, you're not being the type of husband or the type of father you should be. He said, D, he said, I know we talk sometimes, and I know, that, you might be experiencing some challenges at working at home. Let me give you this book, my man. It worked well for me. And, just kind of look at it a little bit, and it'll give you some insight on some things that, you may consider, you may not consider. But D, check it out, my man. And he gave it to me. And that's exactly how he gave it to me.
Wow.
He didn't shove it in my face.
he knew the approach he needed to take with you, right?
Yes.
To get you to use it. If he had came to you in a way and say, "Hey, man, you really need this book. I'm telling you, because one, you need to know how to be a better team member. You need to know how to be a better spouse, a better father, and all this type of stuff." That book would have been sitting on that shelf, and you blow it right down, and be a big pile of dust coming off of it, right? But he knew the approach to get you to take action on the book, and
Absolutely.
then what happens? It changed the rest of your life.
Sam, let me say something real quick. I'm gonna speak from, my faith, right? So, I'll just tell the audience, I ain't saying what you got to do, but I follow the Christian faith. I ain't saying what you got to do, but let me tell you something. So the scripture says that we should go to our brothers and sisters in love. For a long time, I didn't know what that meant. And I would listen to people say, well, I told them because they needed to hear it, because they needed to know. If you're going to love me, you need to love me the way that I need to be loved, not the way that you want to love me. This is what my wife tells me. She tells me, Darrin, love me how I want to be loved, not the way that you want to love me if you're extending love to me. So when I'm talking to Sad or when I'm talking to anybody, guess what? If I'm going to go to my brother or sister in love, I need to go to them in a way that they're going to receive my message and in a way that I can influence their thoughts and I can influence their behavior. Going into somebody in love is not, well, I'm telling you this because I love you and you need to know it. You ain't gonna get nowhere.
Right.
You ain't gonna get nowhere.
Right.
You ain't gonna get nowhere. Love people the way they need to be loved. Still give them the message, but you can change your approach because your approach matters.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And Dr. Darrin H. Brown, folks, has just delivered a powerful message to us tonight, and I want to thank him for coming in. I know that there are a lot of nuggets in here, so you should take this message and you should go back and re-listen to it, chop it up, take some of the nuggets out of it, and apply those things in your life where you can. And what he was ending on really is really talking about the difference between the golden rule and the platinum rule. We all know the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated, right? Yeah, well, that's okay. That's an older way of thinking about the platinum rules. Treat others the way they want to be treated. You see, there's a difference.
Mhm.
Treating people the way that they want to be treated. And when you do that, they're going to treat you in the way that you want to be treated. And then what happens? We have harmonious communication and effective communication. Everybody communicates, but few connect. If you want to connect with people, connect with them the way where they are and the way that they want to be communicated with, and it changes everything for you. Dr. Brown, hey man, thank you very much for coming on Talk Leadership with Cedrick tonight. I've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've enjoyed it as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to being with you, and your audience, again in the future. And also, I'm gonna let you know I'm getting ready to start something. So I'm getting ready to start a podcast. So I'm gonna be hollering at you, Sad.
All right. Well, just holler anytime, brother. I'll definitely come on if you invite me to come on here.
Absolutely.
We also have at the bottom of the screen where you can stay in contact with Dr. Brown, and right on Instagram, the Leadership Quarterback.
Absolutely.
Now, he's not going to be making any passes.
Hey, look. I still can sling that rock. I still can sling that rock.
All right. He said he can still sling the rock.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so check him out on Instagram, folks, the Leadership Quarterback. Folks, I always tell you that.
Before you go there, let me say this. So I told Cedrick this, and we don't normally mention this, but just for future reference, theleadershipquarterback.com. Theleadershipquarterback.com. The website is under construction right now, and that's where you'll be able to find me at in about 30 days. Theleadershipquarterback.com. I'm sorry, Sad, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's actually good. Theleadershipquarterback.com. Make sure you go and save that in your favorites, so that in 30 days, when his website is active, you can then go there. I'm gonna also put this in the comments. So I'm gonna put up on the screen so that you can then get to this as well. Now you see it scrolling across the bottom of the screen to leadershipquarterback.com. Save that. Now, folks, here's the thing. You have a choice. You've heard Dr. Brown come on here and tell his story, tell his journey to leadership. He talked about successes he had. He was very transparent and talked about some failures that he had. He talked a lot about how you impact and change your mindset, your belief system. And he said his niche is not necessarily leadership development, it's culture development, right? So if you know someone that needs to hear this message, you could be a friend, could be a business owner, right? It could be your spouse, or significant other, whoever it is. What I need you to do is to share this message with them. Just tag them on the message. I know that they're going to get something from listening to Dr. Brown. I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. And what I want you to do is I want to make sure that you understand, folks. I tell you this at the end of every show. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And don't be on the menu. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night at 5:30 Central Time for another version of Talk Leadership with Cedrick. Tune in on Wednesday where you're going to hear Joanna Rincon and I on Cut the Cord, helping you understand how to cut the cord from mediocre behavior going to a higher level, mediocre performance to go to a higher level. So 12 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday. Thursday, Talk Leadership with Cedrick. Thursday edition will be here at 5:30 Central Time. On Friday morning, 8:30 Pain. Friday, Mental Motivation, 8:30 Central Time. We're going to be with you for 15 minutes to bring it to you, to help you end your week strong and start out a great weekend. Make sure you have a good evening. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again tomorrow night. Thanks, and bye-bye.